Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here and it's the start of the SOBathon. So today is Sunday, it's Sunday the 8th, it's the first day of the SOBathon. I've got a nice morning actually. Matilda's got someone coming round for a play date, so I'm going to sit and read. I'm not quite sure what I want to start with yet. Let's go over to the books and see what the choices are. I'm back at school, so the vlogs, you know, it's not going to be much of a vlog, it's going to be more of my updates on my reading. So if you haven't seen my TBR, I had on it The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah, a Nicholas Sparks book, 2x2. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and Girl on the Verge. Now, Girl on the Verge seems like quite a short one, maybe one that I can read quite quickly. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Girl on the Verge, which is this one here, which is like a road trip book, and it's got about 250 pages. So I think I'll start with that one, and I'll intersperse it with some audio of The Nightingale. So I'll check back in a little bit later and let you know how I'm going on. Hi guys, so it's now about 3 in the afternoon, and actually I didn't do too badly this morning. I read 70 pages of Girl on the Verge, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm really enjoying the story and the character dynamic. We've got our main character who has got pregnant at 17. It was her first time having sex. She used a condom. Something's gone wrong. She hasn't told her family, but she wants to get an abortion. I think she lives in Texas, which it says at the beginning was, you know, there's not very many places you can go. So she's on this road trip with a girl who I'm not quite sure what her relationship is or how they know each other, but they're not the best of friends, but they're really good friends, and this girl is helping her out because her best friend is very religious and didn't take the news in the supportive way that the main character was hoping, and so there's a little bit of tension between the two. However, she has ended up coming on this road trip to go to the clinic with her because she wants to support her, but because of what happened at the beginning when her friend told her about it and how she wasn't very supportive and she was quite judgmental, and the way she treated her, things aren't, you know, right between them at the moment. So there's that sort of dynamic. And we're just learning things about them and the journey really, and things that are happening along the way. They've just got a flat tyre, so that's quite interesting. So I'm thinking if I push really hard, I should be able to finish this one today. So I'm going to carry on with a bit now, but we had a bit of a break. We had to go buy new school shoes. Also, I just wanted to show you this because I'm about to have it as my snack. I'm currently doing Weight Watchers because I want to lose some weight, and this is the best way for me to do it. But I've struggled to find vegetarian food sometimes, like snacky food or sort of lunchy food, that if I don't make it myself, you know, like a quick thing to grab, that doesn't have mushrooms in. Sometimes it's hard, and doesn't have tomatoes in because I don't like raw tomatoes. Anyway, I found this and I tried it a few days ago, and I've went and got another one. It's by Plant Kitchen, which is the range, if you're in the UK, of M&S's new sort of vegan range. And so this is vegan actually, and it's carrot bites with cannellini bean dip, and it is amazing. It's so tasty and so filling, and it's, I think it's for the whole thing, it's 4 points on Weight Watchers, which is really not that bad at all. So I'm going to sit and have this with a Diet Coke, and I'm going to read a bit more, and I'll come back to you a bit later and let you know how I get on. Okay, so it's a few hours later and I've just finished my first book for the SOBathon, Girls on the Verge by Sharon Biggs Waller. I didn't cry. So I think on the SOBathon rating, I'm doing a little rating, which I am going to have a book rating, a star rating, which I'll tell you in a minute, and then a sobbing rating, which will go to from 1, 2 or 3. So 1 is if I had tears pricking my eyes but didn't cry. 2 will be if I had a little cry, and 3 will be full on crying. I'd say this was a 1. There wasn't really any pricking in my eyes. I think the main emotion that this book makes me feel is anger. I just feel so angry for people that live in America and live in states where they're unable to make the choices for themselves on their own body and make their own decisions about whether they want to keep a baby or not. Yeah, it just makes me really angry. I really enjoyed this it's sort of a road trip story, and I really liked how the author didn't spend this journey trying to make the main character change her mind or you know, all of a sudden decide something different. I liked there was different perspectives in the car. You had someone whose perspective was quite quite anti-abortion, but trying to be supportive of her friend, and you had someone that was just there for her and was, you know, pro-abortion, pro-choice. And obviously we had our main character who was just trying to make the right decision for her and for her life, and yet she was made to feel ashamed and embarrassed. And I just think that that is something that needs to be taken away. It's not fair to make people ashamed or embarrassed of the choices that they want to make about their own bodies and what they do with their bodies. We all choose what we do with our bodies on a daily basis. We choose how much we eat, we choose what foods we eat, we allow people to make decisions on things like that, decisions on you know, what they do with their body, how they exercise, how they who they kiss, who they do things with, and yet we're not allowing them to make decisions about this. Yeah, it made me angry more than anything else that this girl had to travel such a long way in order to achieve something that should just be her right, and the people along the way that she had to come across and put up with in order to get what she wanted. And I think she was an extremely brave girl and extremely brave and determined, and I commend her for that, our character, and I really enjoyed this. So I'm going to give it 4 stars. So there wasn't it wasn't a SOBathon sob, but I give it 4 stars, and I think it's a really important book and a really interesting book, and a book that a lot of young girls should read. Yeah, so on to the next one, which I think I'm going to start my audiobook of the Nightingale, just to get myself started before I go back to school in the week tomorrow and start listening to it. It's nice to get into a chunk of it first, because then you're into the momentum of think, because the first sort of hour or 2 of a book on audiobook you really need to listen and concentrate. So I think I'd like to do that whilst reading it at the same time, and then I'll be ready for school next week for listening it on my journey to and from. So yes, I shall catch up with you in a bit. Hi there, so it's Monday. I just got back from school. Matilda's had some dinner, and I am listening to Kristin Hannah's The Nightingale on audio. I listened to a little bit this morning, but I didn't get a chance to listen to much, and I'm about 100 pages through now. The problem I've got at the moment with this is that it is quite heavily set in the war. It's set in France in the war. It's looking at 2 sisters, and the Germans have just occupied their town, and it's I think there's going to be one of the sisters that goes into the resistance, but we will find out a little bit more. If you've watched my channel for a while, you'll know that I struggle with, I don't really like books that are set in wartime, but often a good writer can pull me through that, and I do love Kristin Hannah's writing, so I'm hoping that the characters and the story itself will pull me through, but we shall see. And I'm quite happy to be plodding through this on audio, and then I'm going to start a new physical book later. I'm not sure which one yet. I'm thinking maybe the Colleen Hoover, but maybe the Nicholas Sparks. I haven't decided yet, so that will be something to catch you up on later. Yeah, not much going on here really in terms of general life. Well, I suppose 2 things. I mean, it's always nice to chat about regular things. Number 1 is that I am just trying to eat healthier. I am doing Weight Watchers, which I really enjoy, and I've done it before. I do want to lose some weight. I don't really feel comfortable in my clothes at the moment. I don't really feel comfortable in my skin. I want to feel healthier. I'm getting tired more sort of walking around and things, you know, and I just, yeah, I want to. So I've been doing that, and I've discovered some really amazing recipes. One of them is this flatbread that I've been making to have with hummus, and basically it's such an easy recipe. It's 80 grams of self-raising flour, and then 50 grams of Alpro plain yogurt. You mix it in a bowl, it makes like a dough, you roll it onto a baking tray which has got some baking parchment on, and then I've sometimes put a bit of paprika or something in just to give it a bit more flavour, and then you cook it, you roll it out till it's about 4 millimeters thick, and then you cook it in the oven for 12 minutes, and voila. And it's sort of, it's kind of a cross between a pita bread and like proper bread, like bread dough, but it's really tasty actually, and it's really nice with hummus, and so I've been really enjoying that. And if you do Weight Watchers, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys are on anything like that, but if you're following Weight Watchers, it's the amount that I just told you, if you make all of that, it's 8 points, but you can make half or however you want to make it. But yeah, I've really been enjoying that. And I suppose something else that's going on in our life at the moment, which is quite difficult, and we're struggling with a little bit, is that Matilda is refusing to go to school. She's 6, so it's a bit worrying. Obviously at 6 she can't actually refuse to go to school, but last Friday I had to physically pick her up with no shoes and socks on and carry her to school. We live next door to school, so that's really good, but she's 6 and nearly 7, and she's quite heavy, and she was kicking and hitting me whilst I was doing that, and very distraught, and that was quite difficult. I have since spoken to some other parents actually, and discovered that it's quite common, and lots of people have been through it at little different stages, so it's nice to know that it's not something that is unusual. I think we were starting to worry that some of the behaviours that she was displaying were unusual, and maybe signals of a much bigger problem. We do think she's suffering from separation anxiety, mainly related to me, but she's been to see a psychologist. I think I've mentioned this before actually. I think I've mentioned it to people before, maybe in one of my vlogs, but yeah, so she has seen her, we've been to our first psychologist appointment as someone to talk to, and she's going to work with us, but she said she's not too worried. She thinks it's quite mild, the issue she's having, so that's really good to hear. And the school thing is slightly worrying, but we had a much better morning this morning, and when she's at school she's having a lovely time and she's really enjoying herself. So yeah, I think we've just got to keep working with it, which is, you know, it's hard, but that's what being a parent is. And you know, when I just feel desperately sad for her, because I want her to be happy all the time. I think that's what, as parents, we want for our kids. We just want them to be happy all the time, and it's a really hard learning curve to learn that actually they're not going to be happy all the time, and we just have to give them the tools and try and help them through and teach them tools to get through those hard times, rather than trying to sort of make it better, because you can't. Sometimes it's something that they've got to work through. Yeah, so this morning my husband and I both took her to school together, and that definitely helped. And I think, you know, as we get back into the term and she gets used to the routine, hopefully things are going to get a bit better, because you know, Sunday nights we're getting a lot of tears and things like that, which does make you know, things a little bit more stressful. Anyway, I'm not sure why I'm telling you all this. I just find it quite cathartic talking to you, so I apologise. Maybe I won't leave this in, I don't know. Yeah, but I think sometimes when you watch these sort of vlogs, it's nice to hear people talk about their life. Other than that, I went to work, I've come home, I've made dinner, and yeah, I'm going to do some reading. Oh, tell you what, there is something else I can talk to you about in this brief random interlude of chatting about various other things. So I was talking to the other people that I work with on our lunch break on Friday, and we were talking about different things we like to watch, and we said, oh, let's try and watch a TV series all together and sort of talk about it. And one of the girls that I work with, or women I should say, that I work with, said that this show on Netflix called The Sinner was really good, and she'd started watching it, and it was one that we should definitely try. So I started watching that on Friday night. And there's 9 episodes. There's 2 series so far. Sorry, there's 8 episodes in each series. So that's 16 episodes, and they're all about, I think, between 40 and an hour long. Anyway, by Saturday evening, no, by Sunday morning, I think I'd watched all of them. I stayed up really late on Friday and Saturday, and it was brilliant. If you like sort of detectives but quite intriguing cases that sort of unravel slowly, at the start of the first series you have a woman that's gone to the beach with her husband and their young son. You know, he's maybe 3 or 2 years old, and she's peeling a pear with a sharp pear knife and giving him a slice, and then having a slice herself. And there is 2 couples, like young couples, like youngish, on these blankets in front of them, and they're all kissing and canoodling, and they play this song really loudly. And something about this song, and I won't talk about it too much, but sets this woman, and she goes into this blind rage, and she goes over to one of the people and stabs him in the neck, and then stabs him multiple times, and he dies. And she, obviously loads of people have seen her do it. She gets arrested. It's like well, anyway, you know, cut and dried, that there's no denying that she did the deed. And it's about this sort of detective who's played by Bill Pullman, who is on the case, and they're sort of looking for motive, really. And it's as this all starts to unravel, and it's really, really good. And I have to say, the second series, the woman is played by Jessica Biel, who is amazing. What a brilliant actress. She's really good. And there's quite a few sort of familiar faces in there. And then the second series is also with Bill Pullman, but this one is about a boy called Julian, who is thought to have murdered his parents, and you think that's quite a sort of cut and dry case as well, and then things start to unravel, and it's really good. So I definitely recommend that. If you've got it on Netflix, it's called The Sinner. I definitely recommend that. It's a real addictive watch. Okay, so I've just finished my next book. I listened to the audio of Kristin Hannah's The Nightingale. I'm going to give this a 1 on the sob rating. There was slightly more tear-pricking than Girls on the Verge, but only for a few moments. There wasn't any full-on crying going on. That doesn't mean that I didn't really enjoy this. I really did. I think this is a prime example for me where the setting and the amount of the war that is, I mean, it is a book about the war, that is what this book is about, meant that it sort of didn't work for me so much. I really just have some sort of adversity to war books. Maybe it's because I find them too I'm trying to think of the right word, to real life. I don't know, but this is a really good book. It's about 2 sisters and what happened to them in the war. They live in France. They're from Paris. One of them is married and has a daughter, and the other is quite young at the start. I think she's 17. She's been kicked out of loads of boarding schools. Her father doesn't really want either of them around. He's struggled since their mother died. And so it goes into when the Germans occupy France, and we're looking at the roles that these 2 women have in the war, what happens to them during the war, and it's quite moving, the things that these women do, the things that these women put up with. the way things were, how scared people were, how badly treated, how many people lost family members, how many children lost parents. So it's a really good book in that way, in shedding light on certain things that happened to different people in the war. It's about war. I don't know why, it's just something for me. I don't know. So I really enjoyed it, but it was 4 stars in the end. As I say, it was really good. It was nice to see. In typical Kristin Hannah style, you flip from past to present, so we're following one of these sisters. I won't tell you which because it would spoil certain things. In the present, she is now an old lady, and she's been invited to this sort of reunion, and then we're flitting back into the past and following these 2 sisters on their 2 very different, well, not very different, but 2 different journeys through the war, and the things that they did and their bravery and courage. So yeah, it was 4 stars, but not amazing. I'm now moved on to my Colleen Hoover book. I'm also listening to that on audio. I'm just fancying a bit of audio at the moment, so I'm going to listen to a little bit of that tonight. And then if I manage to get that finished soon, I've only got 1 more book to go, so potentially I could do quite well in the SOBathon. However, nothing has made me sob yet, but we're only 2 books in, so there's still time to go, so I'll let you know how I get on. I don't know if you can see, there's like a red bit in the corner of my eye. I think I'm getting a sty, which means I must be getting run down. Yay, already. I've only been back a week, so yeah, anyone with any tips of what you can do for styes? There used to be an old wives' tale that you rubbed gold on it and that helped, but I'll just have to try and keep it clean and get a good night's sleep, I suppose. Yeah, anyway, I'll catch you all in a bit. Okay, so it's now Thursday and I finished last night It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I ended up really enjoying this one. It was a 2 probably on the sob meter, and this is the story of a young woman who has grown up in a household with domestic abuse. She's watched her mother be abused by her father, and she has found solace in a young man called Atlas, who is homeless, who she has made friends with, and they have a really deep friendship, Atlas having suffered similar things, and she is living in a household where her mother is beaten by her father. And the story starts when she has just been to her father's funeral. She's now a grown-up, and she meets a man on a rooftop, and they have a moment, and we follow both them and flit to the past to learn more about the past. But this really is, and the author's note at the end is quite powerful actually, because this is something very close to Colleen Hoover's heart. Her mum left her dad when she was 3, I think it was, because of domestic abuse in the home. And this really does shed light on how difficult it is to break that cycle of abuse, how easy it is to justify what someone is doing to you, how easy it is, because if they show this sorrow and regret afterwards, how easy it is to justify to yourself and to give them another chance and to reevaluate your limits of where you will allow things to go. And our main character Lily is looking at that in her own life. I don't want to spoil too much, but I just thought this was really powerful and very much one of those stories where you almost feel ashamed of yourself because you want her to stay with the person that she's so madly in love with, even though you know it's wrong. And I'm so pleased that the main character made the decisions that she did, and
I just thought this was a really good story, and the audio was really good, and it was close to me for a 5-star. I'd say if I did half ratings it'd be 4.5, but because I don't, it's a 4-star, but it's definitely one of my favourite Colin Hoovers to date. So I've now read 3 books and I'm on my final one. I'm listening to the audio of Nicholas Sparks' 2x2. I'm about 100 pages in. There's about just over 500 pages in the book. I am just going to listen to this all evening and then hopefully finish it tomorrow, which means I would have finished all the challenges for the SOBathon, and I'll feel really proud of myself because I've really focused on my reading this week. Yeah, so life's going good. Bit of an update. Matilda is now going to school much easier. Things have settled a little bit, so I'm really pleased with that because, you know, every little bit is a step in the journey, and yeah, I'm just really pleased with that, really. Not much going on here to really report other than that. I'm back at work, so it's work, home, sorting out Matilda, playing with Matilda, having dinner, bed. That is life at the moment, but I'm really enjoying having these reads in here, but I'm still waiting for that one that's going to make me burst into tears. But I have to say, I think I've been quite ruthless and critical this year in reading. Like, I've had way less 5-star reads than I've ever had since I've been on BookTube, and I think I've been on BookTube 5 years now, maybe. Yeah, I've had more less 5-star reads. I think I'm becoming much more you know, I've had quite a lot of 4 and 3 stars, but it does really take a lot now to get it to a 5-star. So I'll look forward to sharing those with you at the end of the year. I've got a really special way that I'm going to be showing you those, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I'll see you when I've got a bit more to report on the next book. Hi guys, so I'm just checking in for a little bit of an update. It's now Friday, sort of early evening, and I'm gonna have to DNF Nicholas Sparks' 2x2. I read about 150 pages and I just really hate the characters in this. I'm finding them really annoying and irritating. We've got a couple, a married couple, and this is from the perspective of the man, Russell, and he's worked in this job before. He's talking about how his beautiful wife, who's been sort of a stay-at-home mum to their daughter, and then he quits his job, and it seems like he's quit his job because he's worried his wife or his boss is attracted to his wife, and that just irritated me because I was like, well, you know, if she's going to run off with your boss, then she's not worth it anyway, is she really? And then he quits his job to go out on his own and start his own company, and then it's not going well, so she has to go and get a job, and then he doesn't like the things that he has to then change in his life, and she's just totally uninterested and passive aggressive, and I just didn't like anybody, and I can't see where this is going to go, where I'm possibly going to like it. So yeah, DNFing this one, I'm afraid. So I don't know. It's the last day of the SOBathon, so I'm not really going to complete my nostalgia read, which is a bit annoying, but I am really pleased that I picked up the books that I did this week. Me and Matilda are home alone this weekend because Jamie, my husband, has gone with his dad on a little walking, canoeing weekend. And so I'm taking Matilda tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon we're going to go and stay in a hotel, and we're going to stay in a hotel with a pool because she loves a pool, and then on Sunday we're going to go to Windsor Castle. Matilda's studying castles this year, and so I thought I would take her to Windsor Castle and we'd have a look round. So I might just finish off this vlog with some footage of our trip to Windsor Castle, so I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hi, we're going to Windsor Castle today.
Hi guys, I know I said that was the end, and I hope you enjoyed a little bit of a view of Windsor Castle. We weren't allowed to take the cameras inside, but it was really good, and the audio tour for families was great. Matilda was totally occupied with listening and playing the games, and it was really great. I just loved it. It was wonderful to look around and just learn some of the history. But while we were away, we went away and stayed overnight in a hotel. I have been reading Stronger Than You Know by Jolene Perry. I saw this on somebody else's channel and just thought it sounded really interesting, and it was a bit of a sob fest. I gave this a 2, so it might be the most sobbing that went on during the sobathon. And I know this doesn't technically count for my sobathon TBR because I finished it after the sobathon, but I wanted to include this in here. It's about our main character Joy, and at the start of this book she is being taken to live with her aunt and her uncle, and as the book goes on we slowly understand that she's been removed from her mother for various reasons. We know throughout the whole book basics of what's happened to her, and we can surmise a lot of what's happened to her. And what I really enjoyed about this actually is it's never explicitly said in graphic detail what's happened to her. We know there's various things, those things are mentioned, but there's no you know, no big detail gone into, and it doesn't need to, because it's the effects that this has had on her and how she moves forward, and the things that it affects in her daily life, and how it affects her trying to live with people and trying to form relationships with people, and those things that really matter. It's not what she's been through, it's what those scars that those things have left on her, both physically and mentally and emotionally. And I really loved that exploration of that, and I really enjoyed this sort of feeling of family, and how not everyone gets that feeling, and not everyone gets that stability and sureness in their life, that there are people there that will support them no matter what, and will comfort them and will be there for them. And I just really loved the family in this. Her aunt and uncle have twins, a boy and a girl, who are I think exactly the same age as her, or maybe a year older. I think they're the same age as her, so they're all in the same year at school. And I loved the differing relationships that they formed with her, and the complexities of adding a new teenager into a household, and especially one that has comes with so much baggage and issues and things that need to be worked through as a family, and how that can take its toll on teenagers when they don't really understand what's going on. It looks at taking medication and coming to terms with that, and you know, how that can help you in your journey. And I just really enjoyed this, and for such a short book, I mean, it's not very long, it's about 250 pages. I thought it was brilliant. And this author has written 2 other books, I think. It says Out of Play and The Summer I Found You, so I'm off now to look those up, and they'll definitely be ones that I'll be adding to my my to read list. So now this really is the end, and thank you if you stayed this long, and yeah, thumbs up if you enjoyed this, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.